Da li Evropa danas plaća preveliku cenu za svoju socijalnu sigurnost, dok istovremeno gubi tehnološku bitku u svetu? Možemo li da se oslonimo na državu blagostanja, dok američki model ubrzano raste, vođen slobodnim tržištem inovacijama? U drugom delu razgovora sa profesorom Omarom Likandrom ulazimo u duboki geopolitički i tehnološki kontekst današnjice. Razgovaramo o tome u kom pravcu ide Srbija i kako zemlja sa 150.000 IT inženjera i moćnim državnim superkompjuterima može da izbegne zamku tranzicije. Kako da nauku i veštačku inteligenciju izvestimo iz laboratorija i pretvorimo ih u stvarne primene koje donose profit i ekonomski rast. Takođe otvaramo jedno od najvažnijih pitanja za kreatore politika. Zašto nas velike ekonomske krize trajno bacaju na niži kolosek i zašto oporavak nikad ne znači povratak na staro? Ovo je nastavak razgovora koji nam daje jasne putokaze kako da tehnologiju preživimo, iskoristimo i pretvorimo u rast, a da pritom ne uništimo temelje našeg društva. You pointed out one term, and I would like to put it in some little bit of geopolitical context, and this is the inequality. And you compared the European and American economic models, and in some of your interviews, I read it, or in the papers, that you concluded that Europe is, let's say, more successful at what it sets out to achieve, and this is greater social balance and security and lower inequality. But there is the time that we are living now in some uncomfortable questions. You know, is it actually social balance versus technology and innovation which is pushing the growth much further? Now the question of, you know, is Europe really success model at the time we are living in, or we need to rethink also this European model?
No, I think the European model was highly successful, but now it's a sort of in crisis. Even the European Union is working on it and trying to understand what is going wrong with the European economic model. And it's very tricky, and I agree with you completely, is that in this sense the Americans, with a much more free market perspective, are being able to grow faster than we are doing in Europe. And somehow we have to find ways of catching up. And what the European Commission is working on is in trying to identify industrial policies that will help Europe to be at the frontier of knowledge. I think that's an interesting issue because it's the main topic of the Coponic Forum. And the interesting thing is that nowadays when you think on industrial policy, you're thinking on innovation policy fundamentally. No, it's how to be at the frontier of knowledge. And this is what Europe is now trying to, and it's very tricky because I think it's a wrong answer to think that if by destroying the social coercion we have created, that we will grow faster. I don't think the answer is there. The answer is to find our way.
Yeah, but also the question is, you know, it's not only the question if they're growing fast or not fast. The fast is a very relative term. You know, what means fast, it is not always the best or the good or whatever, or in which way. But in the way that in deploying technology innovation and being able to turn the technology and innovation into the real outcome, real output, the Europe has the problem with that. In their capital market structure, in their research institutions, how they work. This is something where we, I think, as Europeans have to think about it.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. We are living in a period where our economic model is not being successful on that. No, and it's not clear what the solutions are. And if you ask me if I know how to solve the problem, I say
because
no.
You know, me as you know, people, I have opportunities to visit, and I had opportunities to visit a lot of research labs across Europe with you know, cutting edge technologies, fundamental science, from quantum computing to nuclear, small nuclear reactors, where they are the leading in the worldwide. But what happens is it stays on this level of research institutions and then goes into deployment somewhere else, mostly in the United States.
That's what the European Commission is now trying to work hard on, the complementarity between industries and universities, how to generate the links, how to improve in this direction. But I agree with you, it's a tricky thing.
But one of the formats where we can talk about it, and I think on the global level, is coming very soon, I think in June, in Belgrade. And of course I have to also, in the name of the business community which I represent in Serbia, I have to thank you very much also for your important roles as a member of the board and of International Economics Association to select Belgrade to host. I think that will be bring more than 800 world top economists to Belgrade, from Jean Tirole, Duflo, Stiglitz, or, name it. And with the topic, which is very interesting, is contrasting world visions. This never happened in our region, I think. What made Belgrade your choice? Not only your choice, but the choice of the organization.
That's an interesting point, because at the time that the Association of Serbian Economists contacted us, Alexander Vlahovic, then we have other options on the table. And then we were visiting the different places. I came to Belgrade, and I was really impressed. The plan the association presented to us, the quality of the Sava Center, the high quality of hospitality and restoration, and then the human quality of the Serbians. Really, when I was back, I immediately wrote, we have to move in this direction, and I think the association understood it, and then there we are. And I think will be an incredible success.
Yes, we are all very proud of that, and to have all of you here and to hear some of the top minds discussing the world we will actually live in the future, with all the uncertainties as a new normal. But let me come back to Serbia, and maybe, I don't know if you know the facts, but Serbia has some special aspects in the very nature of its economical system. And that's something which is not very known internationally. So let's say in the last 10 years, Serbia's growth of IT export, software is the first export product of Serbia, is 11 times bigger than 10 years ago. So it's now 4.5 billion euros. It was 400 million euros 10 years ago. We had at that time we had 35,000 IT engineers. Now we have 150,000 IT engineers. We are one and only European country that introduced obligatory coding into primary schools 8 years ago. And in some way at that time, that was 2020, we invested in the first AI-optimized supercomputer. And we are the second country in Europe that had a supercomputer. We have now 3 supercomputers, 2 functionally, and the third one is coming with the newest chips, governmental owned. And we have the Tier 4 data center that was also invested by the government, which make actually one of the rare places in the European continent which are able to produce sovereign AI solutions. And it is, let's say, it makes a lot of the technologies and the discrepancies between the real sector that is working on the other side, producing companies, business community. On the one side, we have this high-tech stack, which is there now. So actually, Serbia, are we buying the newest vintage of capital now? And what would be the best way to close this gap? To let's say not to be casualty of this transformation process or this echoes.
No, but first I apologize because of my ignorance about the Serbian economy. I was just reading because of my talk tomorrow, the national accounts of Serbia. Then I was in particular surprised by the high level of export, and 60% of the Serbian GDP is exported. That's a very high number. Then it's a very open economy. Then these interactions likely go in both directions. But if the AI revolution is the revolution that will guide technology in the next future, you start being in a very good position. No? Then the key here is, and that's the very important question now concerning AI, is applications.
Yeah.
No? Then we have developed an instrument that look to be highly, highly powerful, but we need to implement it. And then I think the point here for Serbia will be, given that you have the know-how, then you need now to relate those that have the know-how with the entrepreneurial sector in order to identify in what are the right applications.
That's what we are doing now, especially in our organization, is working with the state and trying to push the government and political, the public administration to develop the policies which are exactly going in this direction, finding the deployment spaces. And we are now working on we will be, I think, the second or the third country in Europe having the national LLM, the national language model of the Serbian language, which is providing that we have the infrastructure on-prem and the local suite that allows us to deploy AI and with the Serbian LLM, the national LLM model in Serbia, with the data in Serbia for many industries and many different applications. I think these are the new, where the states or the governments have to think about in the new directions, what is actually what are the policies of growth, how to develop the policy.
If I can make, that's the right direction.
Yeah.
If I can make a suggestion, try to involve top entrepreneurs,
of course,
the top engineers working in the private sector with the top researchers in the area. Because when they will talk to each other, they will understand what they think would be interesting, but this guy will tell that's not feasible. And this guy will have ideas and say, no, that's completely uninteresting. And then they will find ways of identifying what are the right applications.
That is exactly why we wanted, as a Chamber of Commerce, as the biggest business association, to lead this process and to take, okay, there are scientists, there are engineers, the e-government office, very capable. They are the governmental infrastructure, but what we have are the people who have to live it every day to deploy it. And let's put this together in a way. So this is something that...
But I think the first role of the public institution is to promote this interaction.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily deciding on what are the directions that should be taken, but generating the interaction. The entrepreneurs know what is good, what is bad, what idea can make money, and these guys, the scientists, know what is possible, what is not.
This is very interesting.
But it's really good. I think if you are in a very good position, and anyway,
it came not overnight. It is like 12 years of investment in science technological parks. In the supercomputer, where NVIDIA was a company building GPUs for gamers. It was not even, but there were some people who said, okay, it could be something, because we needed then we wanted to build an e-government which is capable of building applications for 30 and more applications for taxes to babies to administration and so on. And that was the idea at that time, but it developed then in the right way. It was a good bet, I think.
No, likely you are in the Chamber of Commerce, you are in the best position to do that.
But now I have one topic before we go to the closing the remarks. And this is something that your research found out, and I think it's crucial to understand by the policymakers, especially by the central banks, but also by the governments, is that something you found that about the recovering after the crisis. The US economy, for example, never actually recovered its pre-2008 trajectory. So GDP was still 12% below trend by 2019. You call this switching track, if I good in mind. And so the economy permanently moved to a lower path. So your last paper with the college shows that when developing countries reform to allow more firm selection, like 70 to 76% of the long-run gains can be consumed by transition costs. It is very theoretical. But what I wanted to ask you, how we can advise central banks and what can central banks do and the governments can do to really not be trapped in this L-shaped loop of recovery. So if we have a problem or a crisis, like oil crisis, then the U-shape is coming in, you're going down and you then recover. But then if you go in the L shape and you have something like a very very huge event like 2008 crisis, something like that, and then you go down and you change the policy you're never expecting to go, and you kill all the companies which are innovative companies, which you cannot recover so easily and so quickly as maybe you could think about it as a central banker, that every company is the same. It's not. So that is something what I wanted to explain a little bit more and to our viewers, what it means when you talk about this switching track process and what you would advise the central bankers to look more into.
There are two things here. I think it's a very, very interesting issue. The first is that what took place during the Great Recession is that the shock was very deep. The GDP in the US and in most countries in the developed world went down by 10%.
Like what?
This way, in 1 year. And then the policies we apply was try to control the macro. Then we're not able to be back to the previous trend soon enough. And there was a large set of bankruptcies, a lot of capital was destroyed, and research and development also was for a while reduced. This generated a delay. It's as if for 2-3 years we did absolutely nothing, and then we lost the growth that we have generated otherwise. And then we started from below. That's fundamentally the problem. How can we deal with this? Oh, that's very tricky. No, that's very tricky. I think that the ECB at some point understood, and they not only the ECB, the Fed too, and they changed the structure of monetary policy to this new macro instrument they start using at the time, but perhaps was not soon enough, was not deep enough. I'm not an expert on central banks and monetary policy, but my view is that on one side the mistake was big and the crisis was very deep. Then likely there was no policy that could have solved the problem completely. There was a reaction. The reaction was good, perhaps a little bit late because we're not used to such a crisis. And I think we learn now, and the key is try to avoid to be in the same situation. We were in a huge bubble, and we pay the price. But and that's what now central banks are trying to identify. It's more in the prevention that.
The point that I found extremely interesting in your research is that it is a difference when you think about the crisis and we go down, and there is loans anymore, the capital is much more expensive, and the company goes bankruptcy, whatever, from the problem. And okay, the theory until then was okay, the another company will come when the times get better, and the new companies will come. But with the R&D and innovative companies, it's not such a simple issue.
It's not at all. Because then the key of the innovation process is this full of spillovers. Whatever you learn now will facilitate others to learn tomorrow. Then if for a while we reduce the effort, that will delay the future. No? And that is something that I think likely took place during the Great Recession in a dimension that we didn't observe before.
And that is maybe something where we have to think about it much deeper into it for the next.
Yeah, but I think that isn't the nature of the economic system that research takes place when it takes place, innovation comes when they come, and they will destroy what they will destroy. And the progress is related to this creative destruction process permanently. Yeah. And Schumpeter told us long ago. That's unavoidable. The role of macroeconomic policy is to smooth this. Yeah. Yeah. And and I would say the financial crisis and the Great Recessions are not really related to technology. No, related to the institutions. No? Then, yeah. And I hope now we learn that we have to avoid this type of risk.
This is something that your research really pointed very well. Based on everything what we discussed, vintage capital, creative destruction, trade, demographics, AI, if we had to choose 3 policies that would most rapidly increase productivity in, let's say, middle income country like Serbia, what would that be?
I would say innovation policy.
So your answer is
it's a very
3 things:
tricky one.
Innovation policy, and innovation policy.
No, then likely...
Location.
No, likely you have to complement innovation policy with social policy. Then you have to take the risk of just removing the basis of the economic system, and then you have to help those that will be affected negatively. I don't know if it does the...
Very good. But final question is not a question. I will put it as a prompt. So, since we live in the age of the AI, imagine you're a top economist, you live in Serbia. Define one concrete step to turn technology into economic growth over the next 10 years, and name at least 2 mistakes, major mistakes, that Serbia must avoid. Professor Likandro, how would you respond?
Repeat the question. It's a tricky
you're a
question.
Top economist, you live in Serbia. One step to turn technology into economic growth, and 2 major mistakes that Serbia has to avoid in order not to achieve it. What would be the response? Please repeat the question.
I think the right thing to do is to work hard to get accession to the European Union. That's I think that's the positive, the good things to do. Then the thing you have to avoid is in order to develop, and I think this is the challenge. The key is to build strong institutions. Then you have to avoid anything that goes in the opposite direction. Then it has to be an effort to give to those institutions that work the strengths to complement those that don't. And in this sense, I think one of the great advantages of the European Union is that you buy a package. And this package includes all these institutional regulations that will make, and that's what you observe. I used to say, and I'm sorry because it's not direct to your question, but
it was the
it's
problem.
quite
so
indirect.
You can also a little bit hallucinates.
I used to say to my friends, when my friends, I'm from Uruguay, then when my friends used to ask me, oh, what are the policies? How can we make Uruguay a developed country? And I used to say there are two possible strategies. One, unfortunately, is not feasible, and the other is politically incorrect. Then nobody will implement the second one. The first one is you cut Uruguay from where it is in South America, you move it to Portugal, and you ask for the accession to the European Union. And then you buy the European institutions, and it's done. And Europe likely will be happy if we are there, no? The second is, but well, that's not feasible. The politically incorrect is that the president of Uruguay go to Madrid, kneels in front of the king of Spain and say, sorry, we did a big mistake. We want to be part of Spain again. But well, that's politically incorrect. No politician in Uruguay will do that.
that is
it's a joke, but...
yeah, of course. And then you have to always finish, do you want me to build a PowerPoint presentation out of it? So thank you very much for this.
It was a pleasure.
It was a really honor to be today with you. Thank you very much. And see you in June.
Yeah.
Thank you. Knjiga Doba podela, The Fractured Age, Nila Scheringa, zaista jeste remek delo. Tako ga nazivaju uglavnom svi vodeći mediji u svetu, a knjiga je izašla nedavno. Ova knjiga govori pre svega o tome kako smo došli ponovo u doba geopolitičkih podela, šta one znače za globalnu ekonomiju i u kakvom svetu ćemo sutra živeti. Schering polazi od teze da je period od kraja hladnog rata do finansijske krize 2008. bio u stvari istorijska anomalija, vreme relativne stabilnosti i ubrzane globalizacije i poverenja u tržište. Taj zlatni trenutak liberalnog kapitalizma danas je zamenjen epohom fragmentacije. Globalni lanci snabdevanja se skraćuju, trgovine postaje instrument geopolitike, a države ponovo preuzimaju centralnu ulogu u oblikovanju ekonomskih tokova. Autor identifikuje tri ključne pukotine savremenog sveta. Prva je rastuća nejednakost unutar razvijenih društava koja je podstakla populizam i eroziju poverenja u institucije. Druga je rivalstvo velikih sila, pred svega Sjedinjenih Američkih Država i Kine, koja redefiniše pravila globalne ekonomije. Treća je tehnološka transformacija, digitalizacija i zelena tranzicija, koja istovremeno otvara ogromne mogućnosti i produbljuje podele između dobitnika i gubitnika. Scheringova analiza je hladna, empirijski utemeljena i lišena senzacionalizma. Ona ne predviđa kolaps globalizacije, već njenu transformaciju. Svet neće biti manje povezan, ali će biti politički obojeniji i strateški kontrolisaniji. Umesto univerzalnih pravila, nastajaće paralelni sistemi, finansijski, tehnološki i trgovinski. Ovo je slika sveta koja sve nas čeka.